Here's something that I'm gonna hit you with a left hook, something that you probably didn't think I was gonna talk about.
No, it's all good. What you got?
But the closest I've been to God is on mushrooms.
I knew you were going to say that.
Welcome to another episode of W.K.H. Wealth, Knowledge, Humor. I am your host, Edwin Perez, and I have Lex.
Yes, Lex.
Here, Lex. We're going to keep it at Lex.
Yeah.
Lex.
We
got a lot of guests that we don't need no government names. I have them sign a non-disclosure, last four of tax ID.
Yeah, you ain't
last
getting
four
much.
of the social. So Lex, where can we find you on Instagram before you start talking a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Word on Your Street. Lexi, Lex, LEXX 222.
Okay,
you can find me on
the
Instagram.
personal
yeah,
IG too.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, why not just throw it out there?
I consider Lex, and I've been wanting to have this guest on my podcast for a while. She is my spiritual coach when I don't need her to be my spiritual coach, and I think that's how it's supposed to work.
Maybe. Maybe.
So if you ever down and need some Jesus, need some God, she is the one.
Need some God.
She is the one.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, obviously y'all know me as Lex. Edwin and I go back,
we used to work elections together.
Yeah, he hated me because I would just make money and leave, and I would be a team lead. But anyways, yeah, so I'm just in Jacksonville for the moment, but I'm living in Tampa. My husband, my 4 kids, Autumn, Summer, Easton, and Weston are twins. Just honestly just living life and enjoying every day as it's given to me, for sure.
I love it. I actually throw a little backstory on there. Me and Lex met because she was a bomb collector. I was a bomb collector.
Thank you for the flowers.
Of course. Girl, come on now. Thank you for the paychecks. Because at one point she was my team lead. And whatever she made, I got a little cut. So I appreciate it. It was like my ties and offerings.
I hear you.
But, me and Lex go way back. You're a true player to the game. Respectfully. I mean that, like, when you talk to most women are not that funny. I personally think. And this one may sound a little misogynistic, but not many women are intelligent. Okay. At least the ones that I've met, right? Because, hey, look, I'm not saying women can't be intelligent. All I'm saying is most women that I've met cannot carry a conversation.
Understood.
Cannot really, articulate how they feel without emotion.
Right.
And more logic. So you're more on the logical side for a female. Would you agree?
I would say a lot of it comes from Proverbs. Look, you're talking about just jumping right in the water.
Right.
Knowing I can't swim.
Off rip. Talk to me.
No, but honestly, it has. Even when I was younger, like, that was my first book. And, if you read the Bible, it has, like, titles of each, like, book. Mm-hmm. And so Proverbs was a book of wisdom. So, like, when I seen that, I was like, oh, well, I want to be wise.
King Solomon wrote it, I think,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
So I was, there you go. But yeah, like, once I opened it, and that was my first book, and I just kind of chewed on it and read it. So, I mean, too much is given, much is required, though, for sure. But that's that. I can only say that in experience, of course, but.
Yeah. So, like, it's funny because your husband put me onto that too. I saw a post, and haven't pulled it up in a minute. I've been looking for it. I might be able to chat GPT it, but there was a post that really caught my attention into wanting to read the Bible as an adult, which is where they separated as what book is to teach what part of life. Like how you just said Proverbs is wisdom. Mm-hmm. I believe, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was one specifically about finances, one specifically about love, and dealing with demons. Mm-hmm. So I always thought growing up, you had to read it from Genesis to the end.
Yeah.
And it's not like that, at least where growing up, I'm starting to see that, okay, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. At least I do. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about people that, like, read the Bible and they take what they want, and then the other things are like, it's contradicting?
Well, the first thing about it is, like, everything in the Bible is truth. I always say, like even it's so crazy, but, like, even with, like, dinosaurs and, like, planets and stuff, like, I go back and fact check it because, you know, in the beginning it says God created the heavens and the earth, and he says everything that he's created. And I'm like, well, where did Mars and Pluto and like, so I fact check a lot of stuff. And, you know, people will agree and disagree with me, but I would just say, like, that's kind of when you pick and choose what you want to hear out of the Bible, it doesn't cancel what's actually in there. You're just kind of being ignorant to not wanting to open yourself to the truth. When I said wisdom, when I said I read the book of Proverbs, and Proverbs is the book of wisdom, I say a lot, you know, to much is given, much is required, because although I'm blessed to have the wisdom that I have, now that I know it, I'm not walking in ignorance. So I will be held accountable for the information that I know. But it's also like, why would I want to remain ignorant when there's wisdom that will allow me to leap past the years that I'm in and allow me to see futuristic things just based off of discernment in his direction.
I love that. Heavy is the head who wears the crown, right?
Absolutely.
And you know, I think that there's a level of fear that comes from the unknown that a lot of people have. And me and my roommate were talking about this the other day where, I mean, we didn't necessarily argue, but I was always telling him of how I feel about Christianity. And he's like, how you feel about Christianity and what Christianity really is are two different things. And, you know, we even, to get spiritual in it, it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're going to half-ass your relationship with God, you're going to get half-ass blessings.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's something that's a hard pill to swallow, even for me saying it out loud to you now, because I've dealt with that. And here's something that I'm gonna hit you with a left hook, something that you probably didn't think I was gonna talk about.
No, it's all good. What you got?
But the closest I've been to God is on mushrooms.
I knew you were going to say that. It's so funny.
You didn't know I was gonna say that.
No, I
didn't
did.
I didn't tell you we were gonna talk about
No,
it.
you didn't tell me you were going to talk about it. But it's
Okay.
so crazy because, like, I understand that a lot of times being under the influence can allow us to open, like, gateways spiritually, demonically, really whatever you're feeding yourself. I found myself very, you know, a lot of times, and this is kind of the reason why I don't do it no more, is like I would drink and be drunk and I would be preaching. Everybody say, oh, you know, preaching. And it's like,
I remember those things.
right.
Yeah.
But just like one of those things, like what's in you will come out of you. So do you want me to be, you know, talking to you about the love of God, or you want me to be fighting? Like the your version of who you really are.
It's going to be amplified.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so I had to like kind of steer away from that. But no, you do get encounters when you mushrooms, marijuana. It's so funny that you say that, because one day I was high and I was talking to God, and he was like, you know, what are you doing?
Bro, have you been so high that it tells you to not be high anymore?
Right. And it's like it kind of kills, like, hold on, not right now, God.
Not right now.
But I literally said that to him.
No, I feel you.
But I said, and I literally had this conversation with him. I was like, Lord, I feel like I can hear you better, and I feel closer to you when I'm like this. He rebuked it immediately, because he said that's a deception. That's a lie from the enemy. And I realized it was, because I have a relationship with him outside of it being influenced. And that's not the only way to have a conversation with him. And it's almost like I knew better, and people who don't know better, who haven't grown, like matured spiritually, like he kind of expects those things. But as you're older, he's like, you know better. Like, you know that you can talk to me and it doesn't have to be influenced.
Right,
so he kind of checked me on it. So but I understand. I had a friend who said that she was on shrooms, and that was the closest she ever felt to God.
I will say this much, at least leveling down to marijuana, I have firmly believed since the day that I smoked, then I started smoking, that it was going to be temporary. And it's been a long temporary, but because it's still going.
Right.
And
The marijuana,
but I know,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing. No, I don't do any crazy crap.
Yeah, no,
like
you're
that.
fine. You're
Hell
fine.
no. It's W.K.H, y'all, not freaking the weed. The W is not for weed. It's wealth.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. No, it's cool. But seriously, coming from somebody that, you know, in the process of becoming a life coach, trying to get closer to God, I don't crap. I don't shit on myself for smoking weed, and because you're gonna feel it's like you're doing yourself a disservice twice. You know what I'm saying? So what I do is I meditate. Sometimes I pray when I smoke, which seems a little unorthodox, but it's just how I feel my
Yeah.
relationship is with God. And it also came to a point where I'm like, you know what? What you feel with weed should eventually be how you feel on your own. So, because we keep trying to find this reason to smoke. I'm stressed, smoke. Oh, I'm having a good time, smoke.
Right.
You know, whatever it is that you're feeling, you want to smoke. And then I try to remove that and just kind of make it a little bit more of a reward for me.
Understood.
Instead of like, you know
Everyday
how
thing.
people say social drinkers, social smokers? Like, I find myself leaning more towards, girl, if I got $1 million in the bank, you think I'm going to be smoking weed, man? I'm just thinking to myself, I got so much to do.
Right.
I have so much to do. As a little kid, I thought to myself, heaven, right? Because like my mom would say I had an addiction with my Game Boy. And then she's like, oh, there's not going to be any Game Boys in heaven. And then that kind of stuck to me. And I'm like, I won't use my Game Boy in heaven. I'm going to be racing tigers, you know what I'm talking? Because they say you can't get hurt. I'm jumping off of waterfalls.
I hear you.
So
Living
it's like
life
when you
right.
have that level of security and love with God, I feel like you don't even need that.
You know, it's funny that you say that because it's like there's temptation. There's always gonna be temptations around you. But that's why I don't judge people. Like everybody move with God on their own pace. And a lot of times that I found myself doing was like kind of hiding from him when I wanted to do those things because I knew he didn't want me doing those things. So that just allowed me to like not be close to him. So instead of me, you know, because I didn't want
honest about it and kind of coming to him.
Right. I just kind of like, okay, well, I just kind of pushed him to the back burner because I wanted to enjoy life and
not hear about it.
Yeah, right. Honestly.
Yeah.
Even though I had heard about it even more because I told you when I smoke, I hear him louder. So it's like there's no escaping it. But honestly, God has handled me with so much grace in those moments. And he's always told me, like, look, I knew you were going to do it before you did it. Like, and we have to remind ourselves, like, when we find ourselves doing something or in a place that we're not so proud about, that God knew you were going to be there before you got there. Just because you're now experiencing it doesn't mean he did. Faithfulness is why, even though I was going through those things, I've learned to just continue to stay by him and just, like, let it be a daily bread thing. Like, I'm getting fed by him daily, walking with him, yeah.
It's funny that you said that because my biggest struggle, you asked me earlier why I started doing this podcast, and back to correlates to the mushrooms.
Okay.
I was on mushrooms, and by the way, before I continued saying anything else about psychedelics, handle that with care. I am all about intentionality. I'm not out here tripping just to have a good time. I don't do that for that reason. I do that with intentions. Microdosing, I'm not out here freaking looking at like Pokemon and tripping out. You know, it's not like that. Like I know what I'm doing, in other words, and I'm still aware of my surroundings, my consciousnness. If anything, I'm more intuitive.
Understood.
My point is, it kind of came to me that it's like, oh, I'm doing pretty good for myself, and I came out of depression because after I left the AIL, I really felt like down bad because I had something that I worked for so long, and it was kind of just. It washed away, but then it reminded me of those monks that are like build sandcastles very beautifully, like East Asia, and then they let the waves just take it over because they know that after every beautiful story, there's a new beginning,
For sure.
or an ending. So, point is, I found myself being proud of myself, and then I'm like, how do I give this back? Well, share the wealth, share the knowledge, and it's like make people laugh, bro. You're funny, like that's what I'm known for. I've gone on stage, people have told me I'm funny, so I'm like. W.K.H. And I even, like, in my mind, it sounded like a W.K.H. radio. Like,
it does.
You know what I'm saying? So
That's
it just came to me, and I'm like, you know what? That's how I give back. Because people always think that, you know, tithes and, at least for me, my personal relationship with God is tithes and offerings doesn't always have to be monetary. It could be time, service, you know, acts of service, providing a service to the community and or people or the church, which is something that is part of my goals for 2025. being
Love
more
that.
involved, and not like necessarily celebration, because I feel like they got plenty of people, more like a small church like my mom's church,
Gotcha.
where they don't have, it's an older church where they don't have a lot of young men to be out there move heavy crap around, you know
Right.
what I
You
mean?
could bring something. You could offer
Bring a
something
little
to that
more
church.
life into that church.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got you.
And then where was I going with this? So
You're talking about the podcast.
right, the podcast, and it brought me here. It brought me to bringing different kinds of people, different kinds of like perspectives. This is episode 8. This
Nice.
was actually supposed to be an episode with another friend of mine, Michelle, who is also like a form of my spiritual coach. So it's kind of funny that you're here. My point is that God always has a funny way of teaching all of us a lesson, and it's almost like the cherry on top is like it's a message from you. It's like a little kiss on the forehead. For me, it's money.
Okay.
Every time I complain about money, it gets further away. Like a girl. I'm like, hey, oh my God, I want you so bad.
get
Like,
it.
hey, and then she's like ignoring me. You don't want me. Once I'm like, whatever. I'm not even gonna focus on girls. I'm gonna focus on school. Hey, Edwin, how are you? And then same thing with money. God has always been like, I'm like, God, help me. I need a better job. I know I deserve more. I deserve more. I deserve more. And that's something I kept telling myself. I deserve more. I deserve more. Then you get to a point where I didn't feel like God wasn't listening. It's just more like, you done? Instead of him not listening, it's more like, I just keep talking. I even allowed him to respond. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like, ask, come on. I need this. I want this,
Right.
And once I just let it go, I'm like, you know what? It's in your hands.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm a cook. You gonna see God cook. Same thing has happened with the stock market. I mean, call it a coincidence. This last month has been a blessing to me in the stock market.
Yeah.
Like it really has. I know it's with everything going on in politics, but remove that aside. In my world, my relationship with God, the month before, I was like, you know what? You got it. And he did. I'm just sitting in the back seat like, what are we doing?
I love that, because what it sounds like is that you're in a season of trusting God. You're in a season of patience and just leaning on his every demand in his direction. I used to tell people all the time, I said, like, dude, it can literally take 3 years to get to Miami if you don't have direction. And that's why it's so important, more now than ever, to like heed to him and figure out how to hear from him. And, he said, my sheep know my voice. So it's like, it's important to be able to hear when God is speaking. And truth be told, you won't be able to discern it if you're not reading the word, because the enemy knows scripture too. And the enemy uses a lot of deception. So when you're having mental thoughts in your head, just remember that God is not the author of confusion. See if it aligns who God is when you're having those mental battles where you're kind of fighting back and forth with spirit and flesh. Just know if once you figure out and read and know who God is, you'll be able to interpret the enemy like that. And it's so funny, because it's like, when I look around, I may not have a lot, but what I do have, I cherish it so much because I know I'm blessed with it. And I can say that it's God, but you have to be able to see the enemy just as much as you can be like, man, I know I didn't do that. I know that was God, because God, man, I could have.
Yeah.
The same way you feel that way, you have to be able to see the enemy.
In the
like,
other way,
nah,
in the
exactly.
other side of things.
With temptation,
Right.
with
no, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me. That's not within me. I like that you said that, because I feel like we're always, the opposite is true. And if you're looking at that, you can, because I struggle with lust as my sin, and I'm open with that. My girl knows it too, and it's not like I'm out here, being a manho. She locked me up. I ain't gonna lie, she got me locked in. But at the same sense, it doesn't change how I am biologically as a man. And I've tried to hold back from like looking at booty, or you know what I'm saying. And even in the last episode, Destiny was even talking about how all she remembers when she worked with us at AIL was me talking about women, money and women. And then you don't realize she actually made me retrospectively look back in my life and be like, how many people have you said things around that were listening? Like, how many dumb shit has came out of my mouth where maybe it was intended to just for this audience, but there's an entire other audience that's over here that also listens and now has a preconceived notion of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And for a big part of my life, and I still don't really care what people think, but I do in the sense of my integrity and my
Absolutely.
like, because as Christians, you're supposed to reflect God, and God's not out here looking at booty cheeks. He know what he invented. He know he made something beautiful.
Right.
He don't gotta be all admiring it. No,
Right.
it's for you. It's for you. That's for your woman. That's for you and your man. That's it.
It's funny that you say that because that's the whole reason. Like, one thing I didn't mention is I am in school. Well, you know that for marriage and family therapy.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
I graduate in August. I cannot wait.
Awesome.
But God told me that there's gonna need, like, people are trying to do marriage their way when He created marriages. And because they're trying to do it their way, a lot of people don't try to add like any spiritual, but it says a wise man built his house upon a rock. So you need to have a firm foundation when you're trying to build something good, because the enemy, his whole job is to kill, steal, and destroy. So if you leave a window crack, he's going to try to get in there, whether it's through lust, whether it's through addiction, pornography. Sometimes it can just be distractions. You may be so focused and zoned in on work or money or your phone that you miss the opportunity to be present. And I love what you said about, like, every time you focused on money, it moved further away. And I had a battle with drinking. Like, God had delivered me last year, and I knew He delivered me. I was on a good streak of not drinking, and one day we went on a like how AIL kind of does the rewards.
Yeah.
Well,
a little outing.
Right. We went to the Bahamas, and I got like trashed, and it just was a domino effect. And I'm like, why did I turn back to this? I'm too old for this. And so, but it was harder for me to stop drinking because I had reneged on something He brought me out of. So the fact that He again brought me out of drinking, and it took about a year again to get brought out of drinking, I'm like, I can't go back, because I knew how long it took for me to shake it.
So you don't drink at all anymore, or do you? No, not even socially.
No, not even socially. Now, I was gonna say, like, not to change the subject, but it's so important. A lot of people say, like, I don't go to church. I don't need to go to church. And I get why they're saying that. I just don't feel like they found the right church. If you're feeling that way, because churches, the importance of church. Like, for instance, like, I love my husband. Seth is a blessing to me. Like, honestly, I love him dearly. You know that. He is a baby Christian, though. So although, no, just being honest, he is a baby.
I know what you
He's
mean.
still growing.
Yeah.
And I'm not nowhere near where I want to be.
You're a teenage Christian.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
But when I'm going through spiritual battles, I need somebody in a war room with me. And he's just not there yet. And I'm praying and interceding that he will be. But who prays, who pastors a pastor, who feeds the person who is always feeding others. And, because of that, and I can feed myself, but like outside of that, like having a community, when the word says where 2 or 3 are gathered, they help break the cycle of me drinking. So my friend was just like, you're looking too much at that mountain. You were looking at too much of the mountain of the money situation. She's like, you're giving your mountain too much credit. Shift your focus. And once she told me that, like, but you
felt relieved almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to have like check your friends to make sure you have people that's able to feed you in those areas that you can't feed yourself to.
I will say that much in the topic of finding the right friends. I feel like I am finally, so for my party, I've only invited a select few people, and it's usually, I've noticed since I bought this house to where I am now, the parties went kind of like it slowly got bigger, got to a peak where it's like 40, 45 people in here, down to like 25, 20, 10. I mean, honestly, because my cousins live here, it's going to be minimum 15.
I got you.
But point is, the tighter circle, the better, not necessarily control, but influence I have. I have gotten a lot into numerology and how it correlates actually with the Bible, but that'll be for a separate time.
No, that's fine.
But point is, understanding your life path number kind of helps you a little bit understand of your nature. And this is something I've already noticed. I am a product of my environment. And I feel like a lot of us are, but the thing about me is I amplify it. If everybody's here on their phones, I'm just like, I'm going to try to get everybody up and doing something. And if everybody stays on their phones, I'm going to be the most introverted person in this room. If everybody's lit partying and and I just come in here chilling and I see what the energy looks like, yo, I'm going to be the loudest person in the room. Point is, once you start realizing that, instead of changing it, change your environment, change the people around you. I have a daily, it's called the work from home unit, W.K.H unit. It's our FaceTime group chat, 6 of us in there.
Love that.
We work from home. You know, whenever, you know, you're not working, get on there, boom. And we're just talking smack, but 9 times out of 10, we're talking investments. We're talking trips, and we're talking like bettering each other. Somebody's having a bad day, they talk about it, and then we're like motivate them, empower them, and that's just, I have a friend who told me, I'm not going to say any names, but he told me the other day, I got him a gift, and he was like, yo, man, thank you. I'm not used to getting gifts. I'm like, what about for your birthday? It's like, and my parents, like, we don't really got gifts like that. And to me, it didn't really mean a lot for me. It was a gift card. I even felt bad for giving him a gift card because I feel like when you get somebody a gift card, it's like, I don't know what to get him. Just get him a gift card. I felt bad for doing that, but he was so grateful. And he's like, yo, man, like this group chat is cool. I like people like you guys. I like being around people like y'all. Y'all are good friends.
Right.
Then you start comparing the good quality of people versus the shitty quality of people. Perfect example, these Jacksonville folk, y'all are the best, man. Miami folk, bro, it's like, hit me up on payday. Y'all only hit them up on payday, and it's only to drink, it's only to party, and I feel bad for them. I've said this many times in this show. They probably hate me by now.
For Miami?
Yeah, girl, because I love Miami. I miss Miami. I love the culture. The people are just so shallow, both men and women. And I feel like shallow not in the sense of like, oh, because they're ugly or you're ugly. Shallow in the sense of there's like vapidness. There's no depth in your thoughts. Like if I tell them I live in Jacksonville, they won't. If you could remove all the city and names in Florida, they probably think we're Tallahassee is. Because that's where I used to think. That's where Tallahassee. You know, that's where I'm like, oh, somewhere near Tallahassee.
So it's almost like they're in like a box. That's
exactly
their world.
Exactly.
They're not trying to figure out anything outside of it.
Exactly.
It's almost like its own culture.
It is almost like its own culture. And you know, I've seen people here, and also because I'm growing older here, I'm almost 30. Seeing people that are being parents. I mean, I'll give it to you, Lex. Even though, I mean, I applaud you for not drinking, not smoking, your sobriety overall. That makes you sound like a crackhead. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're doing great. You're doing great. You're not doing anything crazy.
I mean, I'm not perfect.
But you're definitely what I believe a Christian should be like. And I hope that you know, you take that like that word carries weight, because I have a term which I think you've heard me say, hypocritians. There's a lot of hypocritical Christians that push people that are like the maybes, you know, that lukewarm Christians, or like they don't know, they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Those are the most important people, I believe. Like if you're trying to save somebody, because if you're a real Christian and you're thinking about saving people's lives and souls, those are the ones that really, really like needed the most. Yeah, these people are over here, are gone, they're lost. Let God handle that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my opinion. You know what I'm saying? If you're taught something different in school, let me know.
Right. Yeah. I don't got you.
But my belief is those people come in and they're like, you know what? Let me give church a chance. And then something just turns you off, and then now you ruined the reputation for Christians forever.
Right.
At least for that person's reality.
I think it's tough because a lot of people put pressure on humans. It's
I agree.
It has nothing to do. Like,
I agree. Even
when you were just like, you know, I can't remember what you said verbatim, but I like shunned it. Although I appreciate you saying that, I'm far from that. Like I'm trying to build a heavenly resume. I understand the time. A heavenly resume. Absolutely. And I encourage everyone to do it. You can't, like you were saying earlier, a lot of people pick and choose what they want out of the Bible. I know you can't do that. And so therefore, looking at the times, I know that we're coming to like this narrow end of like the spectrum where I think the biggest deception the enemy can tell you is that you have time. You know, we're not promised tomorrow. We're looking at life like, yeah, next year. And look, you can't even tell me what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes. You're talking about next year. But because of that, I'm like, I know that I bring putting a pin in that real fast because the guy laid on my heart to say this parable as I was driving here this evening. But it's the parable of the men with the talents. Have you
Okay.
read that?
No.
Okay. So apparently, like, there was this king, or I could be wrong. I just got the message of it, not really the logistics, but apparently, I believe it was like a king, and he came in town and he gave talents, which I guess was technically money back then. He gave 1 talent to one man, 2 talents to another, and 5 talents, all according to what they were capable of doing. And so he left town and he said he was going to return. He wanted them to invest in their talents with what he was giving them. So one of the men doubled it, the other man doubled his, and the man with the 1 talent hid it. And so when the king returned, everyone he praised that multiplied what he gave him, but the guy with the 1 talent who buried it, he cursed him and basically was done with him because he didn't do anything with his talent. And so it says that's like the kingdom of God, where God gave me the revelation as I was reading that parable, is that our talents is our time. What are you doing with the time that God has given you? And if you're not doing anything with it, that one is you being selfish.
Hiding it
You're exactly
for yourself.
Exactly. And so therefore, knowing that you are here on an assignment and you're not fulfilling that assignment, the last thing you want God to do is find somebody else to fulfill it. Because then at that point, you're a man without a vision will perish. Excuse me. So at that point, what is his will for you? Oh, he had this will for you, but you didn't fulfill it. So I'm moving on to the next person. Now you're just existing because you don't want to seek me. You don't want to figure out what I have for you. You don't want to do anything with yourself. You're existing, and so you're going to perish. But a man with vision, God can use. And as long as he's using you, then you're here fulfilling his will, adding on to your resume.
I love that.
So that's all I'm trying to do.
The heavenly resume. I
That's
like
all I'm
that
trying
was
to do.
very well put. That was very well put. I like the story. One of the things that really stands out to me when you say that is the fact that I've always had a vision of myself on stage, and the more that I get older, the more I realize it's not just comedy that I'm going to be doing on stage, and it's motivational speaking, influencing, leadership, and most importantly, God. And it's not like I'm not saying I'm going to be a pastor, anything like that. I don't see me being there. Hey, if God takes me there, God takes me there.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not saying that that's what I'm looking for or my vision. But my vision is to speak life into others.
For sure. I love that.
Because, listen, girl, I'm going to tell you something. I was the dork as a kid. I'm still kind of the dork.
Really?
Yeah, no, right. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Really? You're stupid. I can't stand you. But I was the dork, and I'm saying was because of how I feel about myself, right? And I can still be the dork, and I can own that.
You're not a
But
dork.
was in the sense of like, very frail, very skinny, dorky kid, glasses, little bumps into people, clumsy, right? Because he can't see very well. And coming from that little boy to a man who believes in himself and even has to push himself harder because, for example, your husband, Seth, him and my brother are the two men that I say have pushed me the hardest
Okay.
because they don't have limited beliefs. They don't. If anything, I admire them because they're always like, yeah, we're going to make this freaking much money. And I'm like, can we make this much first?
Baby steps.
I'm like, yo, chill. And then I'm like, my brother, he's doing wholesaling. So he's over here working on sales back to back. And I'm like,
Nice.
yo, you got 2? I'm like, hey, why don't you do this and that? He's like, no, I need 4 more. And I'm like, oh, okay, do your thing. And I don't want to slow them down, but it's like, I like being around them because it makes me, again, I'm a product of my
motivated.
environment. It makes me go harder.
For sure.
The other day at the gym, my brother was doing 240 pounds. I was doing 160 on this machine for your triceps. And then I was like, you know what? Because this is ego. But I'm like, this is my little brother. Let me see what this 240 really is about. And I did it. And then he looked at me. He's like, you know what? I'm impressed and I'm disappointed at the same time. I'm impressed because it took me months to get to that. And you actually touched it. Like you actually hit the numbers. But I'm also disappointed because you don't push yourself enough. And I'm like, damn. And that's the same thing that Steph used to tell me too. when everybody was setting up their goals for the month. And then here goes Edwin with his little micro goals.
He's like,
with
you're
his
thinking
little,
too small.
You're thinking too small. You're thinking
Yeah.
too small. And he used to piss me off. I'm like, bro.
You're like, I'm
not,
trying to get it within my reach.
Exactly. And then you start getting more confidence and you start raising your bar even higher. And I speak life into others because I know what it's like to be the little guy. I know what it's like. And I want the kind of people I don't help, because you know what they used to say, if a lifeguard, they have to save your life if they see you drowning, but if you try to drown them in the process, they have the right to push you off and let go. So I do not, for whatever reason, I can't find the empathy in me enough to help people that bitch about life. Once or twice, we all have that right. But if it's a woe, it's me, and everything around you is the problem and not you, I can't help you.
Well, that's a temperament too, just like in psychology, you know, the books that they give us, like some people just think A and B, you know, and it's unfortunate because it's almost like we don't really see that self-discipline is a blessing. Having to be like, there's certain things that we have access to, like even thinking outside the box, like, you know, some people would look at it, you know, you having a podcast and they'll say, oh, well, that's too hard. Not even attempting to see what it would take to get there because they just don't want to push themselves. And that's honestly a temperament. It's unfortunate, but yeah, you got to see what you have as a blessing, man.
You do. And just the cure to that is gratefulness. It's just gratitude. And it all started with a lot of kudos to you. And I mean, you and your husband are a power couple. I've said this to many, just because a little bit of their story that I'll share is I like that Seth stood by your side with two little girls, and then God literally rewarded him like two boys like that.
Boys.
Like, here you go, bro. Appreciate that. Appreciate you handling my, those two, because I know those two was a handful, bro.
Oh my goodness.
I used to ride with him every day to work, and you know that I used to deal with them in the summer all the time. But point is, it's good that you guys are you reap what you sow, and you guys are planting plenty of seeds onto each other and onto others.
Yeah.
Which is great because it also builds a network of people that you could trust. I've always called him whenever I'm like, yo, what you think of this? Or he'll call me sometimes just to check up, and it's just guy stuff. And same thing with you. When you adopted me as your brother, it's cool to know that if I ever need some non-biased OG, not just like, Edwin, you gotta get right with God, not just that, just be like, hey, bro, like,
right,
it's me and God talking, but you tripping, or you got this. The authenticity. I feel that you're right. A lot of Christians do get a lot of crap because if you say you're a Christian, all eyes on you. Like, oh, like, okay, you better not mess up.
Right.
You're a Christian,
They're
right?
waiting
You better
for you
not
to
mess
slip.
up. They're waiting for you to slip. They want to
be proven that it just can't be done.
Right. Exactly. And I do hate that negative connotation. I do hate that part. So when you were telling me that earlier, when I was saying, that some Christians push people away, in the same sense, we need to stop. Or when I say we, I mean people that aren't all the way Christian, or people that don't look at it how they want to see it. You can't base one person for the entire community. You can't base off of one experience. And honestly, God will always bring you back to the right place. I've been in wrong churches. No offense to anybody's religion, but I've been a Jehovah's Witness. And when I tell you that was the worst time of my life, that is the worst time of my life. Weird to me. It was super weird to me. Like how they would pull up to my mom's house uninvited and be like, what are y'all doing? Are y'all having a party? Why is there barbecue grilling?
That's
and
tough.
We're here like, yeah, we're barbecuing. It's like, why do you guys have, what do they call it? Music that's not godly? What do they call it? I can't remember.
What's secular music?
Secular music, yeah. What are you guys listening to secular music? I'm like, what?
I mean, those, it's so funny.
It's Anthony Santos, bro. Come on.
It's funny you say that, though, because, like, even in the Bible, they had law scholars. Like, literally law scholars out there that was telling God, like, is it right for, you to be doing this on the Sabbath day? He's like, dude, get out of my face with that. Like, you say you know me, but your heart is far from me. Like, if you knew who I was, like, that's people, there's a difference between relationship and religion. And I feel like a lot of people operate in religion. Like, respectfully, nothing wrong with the Catholic Church, but I shouldn't go inside of a church and feel like I am out of place. Like,
We're at
are
a
we
cult.
talking right? Well, and truth be told, it may not be a cult to them. I mean, they may look at ours and like there's no organization here, there's no structure. They may think we're, it's all how you perceive it. But
Right.
in you, I think what the enemy did and has become successful thus far in is creating division amongst the church, where we have the Catholic Church and
The
the
Baptists.
and the non-denominationals and all this stuff, and so people really don't know where to fit in at, so they kind of just adapt to one area, and as long as they're talking Jesus, they're in a good spot. But I encourage people to go what feeds your soul,
Absolutely.
because it's like, if and truth be told, not even just that, but if your pastor's teaching, which should be he should just be a mouthpiece for God, but if it's not convicting you, then you probably should find another church, because the last thing you want to do is you can be comfortable in a church seat and still go to hell, because they're going around the things that need to be touched. And right
Yeah.
now, that's
Yeah.
why another reason it's
I
important.
love Pastor Tim.
Oh, Pastor Tim
Girl,
speaks
he
some
be
fire.
I'd be on the edge of my seat. I'd be like, I don't even want to make eye contact, and he's like 100 yards away.
And it was tough for me, because when we moved to Tampa, like, I was like, Lord, I need a church, and I don't know, like, I didn't know how to find anything better than Pastor Tim. And really, like, my dad told me, he's like, the Bible said he'll give you pastors. And I feel like as you level up, he will cater, like right now.
Different level
Right.
of leadership.
Right, because right now we attend Reach City Church, which, by the way, a phenomenal church in Tampa, and they speak on the level that I'm at. Like, some pastors say, "Oh, well, do this, and the Lord's gonna bless you," and they cater more to your wants,
Yeah.
and sometimes to your needs.
Yeah.
But my pastor caters to, we are living, like, get your life together. The world is coming to, like, he speaks from a like place of revelation,
Like you said, conviction.
yeah, like, tighten up, like,
Right.
whatever you're doing, like, getting correction.
There's no time for
Exactly. Like, he cut all the fat off the meat. Like, he like gets, and I feel like I need that more than I don't care, honestly, about, like, I'm so grateful for God's blessings. I don't care about the money. I don't care about what God can do to get me a house. And I trust God with everything, and I don't care about none of that. I know he will do it, because he's faithful, and he's done it even when I wasn't where I am today. And so I'm not worried about that, but I need someone that's going to feed my spirit to get me to the next season that I'm trying to go into.
That's very well put. Very well put. So you like your pastor? It sounds like.
Yeah, my pastor, Pastor Johnny, and his the whole congregation is just a phenomenal church, and so so
How do you
good.
do you feel like? Obviously, I don't want to get too personal on your family and
No,
anything,
you're fine.
but do you feel like what your girls grew up with as a mom? I know the answer to this, but if you could elaborate. Do you feel like the girls grew up with a different mom than the boys will?
Absolutely.
How many years apart, just for the sake of the conversation?
Yeah, so Autumn, who is my oldest, she'll be 13 on December 22nd. Summer is 10. And then the twins, Easton and Weston, they'll be 3 in January.
Wow.
Autumn specifically saw me in a phase where I knew God, but I didn't really, I knew about him, but I didn't really like fully leap into it. It took, like, just a backstory of kind of how I got, like, started that path is, I was married with my first marriage, Autumn and Summer's dad, and I had my house and whatever. He left, like, he broke into the house, took everything, including the garbage can, while I was at Golden Corral. I was working there.
I'm sorry. What?
No, you're okay.
The
He took
trash
everything.
can.
But the sad thing about it is, at the
Damn,
time
wow.
we were married, he stole everything to furnish his new home. We were still married, but he had his own thing, and I guess he thought it was better to him, anyways. But I was broken, like, not only just because of that, but that season was so rough. My car broke down. It kept breaking down. I was only making like $5.05 as a server at Golden Corral. I literally would have one pack of noodles and take a bite, split it between the girls. Like, it was such a tough season, to the point where all I had was a bed in that house. And I was so broken because the girls still wanted to, like, Mom, get me and I just didn't even want to deal with my kids. I lost so much weight. I was so depressed.
Wow.
And I, after like days and weeks passed and I knew he just wasn't coming back, I was like, Lord, I didn't have nowhere to look but up. And I think sometimes like God has to break you down to rebuild you.
back
And
up.
I was operating in a spirit of rebellion when I was in my first marriage. So, yeah, since that moment where I looked to him, like he has proven himself to me that I can trust him. And because of that, like, I was like, all right, Lord, like, you're going to have to work with me because I'm not, you clearly see something in me that I don't, but I've stayed near him. And because of that, like, he has just continued to mold me to the woman that I believe he wants me to be. So
That's amazing.
Autumn and Summer have seen both sides. So,
And then the boys will definitely be like a different woman. I mean, it's the same woman because you carry that. Like again, I think that's what makes you authentic is the fact that you're willing to share your past and know where you come from. Because we all have a past. You know, we all have our disillusions in life, like our troubles. But like you said, God has to. It's hate to go back to this, but it in some sense, when you go through an ego death, when you take mushrooms, you go through a certain level of ego death where you remove that thing that holds you back from believing in anything else but yourself. And it's like it tells you it's I'm thirsty, I'm weak, I'm sick, I can't do this, I can't do that. That voice is your ego. And once you remove that, you are your authentic self. And it's kind of like when you find yourself, I firmly believe that human beings are born to be good. And somewhere down the line, we lose our way. Because if you think about it, look at children. They're very authentic. They're not scared to tell you your breath stinks. They're not scared to tell you you're fat. Open and honest, but very caring.
Yeah.
If you got hurt, they'd be like, "Oh, are you okay?"
Yeah.
Like, there's never been a kid that's like, yeah, maybe they laugh. But, like, I think that we're all born with good and we somehow, throughout the process of life, lose our way. And it's beautiful to see somebody kind of make that 180 because from what I just saw in my head, what you just told me compared to where you are now. Beautiful home in Tampa, beautiful children. You got a great husband, good looking
awesome.
dude. I love my Leos. And no homo, no
You're
Diddy.
crazy. No Diddy.
No, but for real, me and Sev, that's my boy. I definitely love seeing you guys together, super power couple. We're almost getting close towards the ending of the episode. Anything that you feel like you want to give to the audience that you feel like God just wants you to speak out there, or anything that you'd like to share?
Man, just I know like just where we are in life, sometimes it can seem uncertain. A lot of people are battling with like addictions and stress and anxiety, fear, suicidal thoughts. Some people are losing close ones, and you probably questioning just like where God is. But I pray that if this video meets you, that you just yield. I don't care what you have to do. Just I pray that you find a space where you're able to just escape in the quietness and just kind of be still. God speaks. A nugget that I can give you before we leave is God isn't going to speak to you. My dad told me, God doesn't speak to you like Edwin. Like he's not, opening the sky to speak to you, but he does speak to you through your thoughts. So just be careful what you're thinking. And if you're going to have thoughts, like in order for you to, have decipher the right things, them. Right. Just make sure that, if you need a good word, open Matthew or open Proverbs, and that'll give you a good insight of exactly, where you're trying to go in this next season. But
yeah, in my sense, I definitely, every time I have a guest, I always take something away and I always try to implement. And you are making me want to read Proverbs ASAP. I'm honestly going to start tomorrow because I have the app. I don't even have to read it. I can just play it like audio, because Steph used to play it on the way to work, but I never actually got to start it on my own. And it's only, I think it was 31 chapters, I believe.
It's not bad. Do you have a physical Bible?
I do have a physical Bible.
I would encourage you to open up a physical Bible.
Okay.
Only reason why is because, like, kind of for me, what he gave to me was I do have the app, but he says when your kids come in, do they see you on reading the Bible? Or do they see you on your phone? So it's just like you are a strong, and just kudos to you on your journey and where you're headed. You know, I pray that God continues to bless you and continues to keep you. And I just know that you're a leader too in so many places. And because you want to be influential, I encourage you to be impactful as well. And I know you're already doing that. But it is going to come from them being able to see it, and they won't be able to decipher if you're reading the Bible or scrolling on social media.
Or is he on social media? Right.
So just to be able, it's an image thing. But
I can respect that. I totally respect it. It's an intentionality thing with it. I mean, my great grandmother used to read me the Bible every night before bed.
Yeah.
And she was like 80 years old, barely reading it. Because sometimes the reason why I don't read, not even sometimes, the reason why I don't read the physical book is because my peripheral vision. So
you need a Kindle.
It's not even that. It's the fact that, so this lack of patience, and I'll even leave us with this too. God has been teaching me patience my entire life. Still an ongoing battle. And the most recent, I guess you could say, milestone was about a year ago, where I had to literally sit down, take a step back, and be like, what am I doing to myself? Because I read at a college level. My eyes read at a 4th grade level. So I'm like reading like this because my vision is limited. When I really want to read like this because my vision is limited. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's how I can take the information. Sometimes reading slow makes me have to reread it again.
But that's good though, because you're like chewing on it.
You're right. It is because yes, with reading. But the point of this was, my whole life I've been very impatient. I've never liked waiting on people, and I don't like people waiting on me. So you shouldn't ever. I don't think there was ever a time where you've waited on Edwin. And I had to realize that my girlfriend even told me this the other day. I bump into stuff a lot. And it's not like I bump into it because I don't see it. It's because my body moves faster than my eyes. I walk like I walk like I'm 2020. Chill, bro. Slow down. Like, I have to be patient with myself. And that took a long time to realize. And that's why I say it's the most recent milestone where I'm like, I can't even be patient with my own self. I get it. You're impatient with people that you hate waiting on, whatever, but yourself? Like, how, there was almost like a lack of love there. Like, my mom isn't like, when I'm looking for something or I drop something, somebody's like, reach for it, look for it. They're not like, come on, hurry up, Edwin, find it.
Right.
But I'm like that with myself. So I get frustrated when I can't, like, luckily, girl, I can type without looking. That's half of my job.
There you go.
So I'm like, I'm great at that. But when I'm like looking for the mouse, I'm like, and I get frustrated. I can't find the mouse. So I'm like, damn, why am I getting frustrated with myself? I know my condition more than anybody. I live it every day. And I can't even be patient with myself. And God really, really humbled me and was like, yo, we are all reflections of, you're a reflection of me. Our realities, and again, it's a separate conversation for a different time.
Yeah,
but,
okay, part two.
We're right, part two. So we are all one person. We are all one being with God. And it's like, there's times where we treat other people better than we treat ourselves. So I had to learn to be more patient with myself. And anybody lacks patience, patience is a virtue. And in order to be virtuous, you have to love yourself. You have to forgive yourself too. Because a big part of my life is, when they say control the controllables, I hate when it's uncontrollable.
I get it.
I can't control this right now. So therefore, I have to give myself some grace. And another person that told me that was a guest, Harnett, where he's like, you got to give yourself a little bit more grace, bro.
Yeah.
And it's helped me a lot. Every time I got a guest here, honestly, at this point, it's not even for the viewers.
It's
for me.
It's like
I'm
a counseling
it is
session.
it's a free session. Y'all get to come over here, chill with me. I don't gotta pay you.
No, you don't.
That's awesome.
You just gotta pay for the room.
That's crazy.
I'm just playing.
But it's been a pleasure to have you here. I really appreciate it. You're always
you
speaking facts. For real. You're a great mom. You're a great. Oh.
No, you okay?
Are we dapping up? See, look at that. Y'all see, I'm telling you, it's peripheral. Ain't
You're
a
good.
joke.
You're good.
I'm gonna start monetizing this. You'll see.
Yeah, all
You'll
right.
see soon. I'm
Yeah.
gonna make canes, Versace canes.
You don't need all that, bro. You crazy.
But yeah, it's been and our friendship I think actually has came a long way too. From just joking around,
We're
making
family.
jokes. From
There's no
right.
friendships.
Exactly. You know, I know your mom's.
You
At this
do.
point, you know
You
my
do.
mom's.
You do.
I think that's as close as you can
Speaking
get.
of, what's for Thanksgiving?
What?
What is that?
Spanish Thanksgiving. Well, yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for watching an episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
Don't forget to follow Word on Your Street. That's Word on Ya, Y-A
You want to
Street.
tell them a little bit about this T-shirt?
Oh yeah, before we go, so this is one of the shirts that we make. Defeat. It says God is in the discipline. Honestly, we just make shirts as well. Yeah, it's got 2 Timothy 1:7, which basically says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind, reminding us that we have the power to have self-discipline. It's one of the fruits that we bear for being in the spirit. So, we just make shirts. Typically, I just take people's favorite Bible scriptures and I'll turn it into a shirt for them. But he specifically wanted that one. So
I love it. It's beautiful. It means a lot. And also, most importantly, I never thought about it that way, as self-discipline being like a fruit. I feel like it was always something that you had to work for, but it's almost in that book that Roll Less Travel that I was telling you about. He talks about the most two important ingredients for success and most importantly life is discipline and love. So I can see those two being correlated, and having self-discipline is a form of self-love.
absolutely.
So awesome. I love it. Thank you for coming.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having me.
Hope you guys have a good one till the
Have a
next
good night.
episode. This is Wealth, Knowledge, Humor.